Muffin is going to do Sorrow Bash. He is going to use Bashes.
A minute away from this PB with everything goes. Wow! Oh my god!
Is that faster?
Is that faster? Big jerk sometimes. He doesn't want to play nice. Oh my good lord!
What a save!
Oh! He makes it. Wow.
Oh my god!
Welcome, Speed fans, to Ori and the Blind Forest All Skills 2019. This is the first Game 3 of the bracket stage. This is UncleRonny versus IMRaziel. Raziel taking Game 1, Ronnie taking Game 2. Shafe joined alongside Covert Muffin. Race number 1, extremely close, just 6 seconds apart, with a 30-21 and a 30-27. And Game 2, a little bit more of a separation, as we might have expected, with Ronnie getting a 28-57 and Raz finishing with a 31-40. We do, I would say, expect Ronnie to take this. He is the returning champion of this tournament and has about 2-ish minutes on his qualifier best over top of Raz, and approximately the same differential in terms of their PB. So, Muffin, we saw in Game 1, however, that this is indeed an extremely difficult speed game at the highest level. We had a soft lock in the final escape that switched things up entirely, and anything at all can happen despite the expectations that we have set today.
You know, Shafe, that's a really good point. Like, all those are really good points. And I think the overarching idea is that in Ori and the Blind Forest, it's very mechanistically complex, especially in the latter portions of the game, but also sort of the idea of mixing in safety versus consistently getting through sections in the lowest possible time. And so Ronnie busting out the 3 HP strats means that he's going to be skipping a little bit of safety for his mid and latter portions of the run. And so he is going to be busting out some extra saves as he gets to there. However, he is still conducive to being able to suffer from those big, 1-minute deaths. We especially saw this in the first game where he had troubles with Sorrow Bash. He took a death in a few other locations like Misty. And then also, in the final escape, hitting that soft lock was just very, very unfortunate. But that's what Raz needs, right? As you mentioned, that 2 minutes of average, Raz needs to find a way to be able to keep with his opponent and not take big time losses, and just hope that Ronnie is going to come up just slightly short today for him to be able to make it a really close race. This doesn't necessarily mean that Raz is not proficient at this game. I mean, just look at this. Look at these stats, right? His current PB is at 29-20. And this is a top time on the leaderboard. And he has been busting out some really impressive times coming through this tournament. So if he keeps up this pace, Shafe, this is anybody's race today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no disrespect to Raz here by any stretch of the imagination. He is, 13th on the leaderboard with his 29-43. Ronnie second with a 27-53. But it's the consistency, I think, like you say, that we're looking for out of Raziel today. Whereas with Ronnie, we're going to be seeing some of those, unsafe strats, really trying to push the boundaries in order to be able to cement the victory.
Yeah,
I think if Raz plays consistently, doesn't take any significant time losses, he can take probably a 2 or a 3 second death here or there, miss a jumper, that kind of thing. But it's going to take that level of just consistent, solid play that we know Raz is capable of in order to be able to pull out the victory.
Yeah, I also just really appreciate that these runners are here to have a good time. Ronnie's going to be busting out some really insane strats later on just for it, and even though they only save a few fractions of a second, Raz, however, in his miscellaneous facts, just wanted to point out that he got a 38-12 versus Brynhold in 2017. So, ever the meme lord, Raz, is just, I'm so glad we get to watch these guys push it to a Game 3. So here we go. Ronnie is going to be in the top left corner of your screen, while Raz is going to be rocking the right side. That being said, under the screens themselves, we're going to see an emblem with first and second place, as well as some skill wheels that are going to fill out as our runners progress through the run. So if you ever feel like you're a little bit lost as who's ahead, just check out those emblems below.
That's right. And the first skill that we're going to be picking up here is Sign. It's the basic attack skill that you get. If you're just kind of tuning into the tournament at this point, just a little quick note on Sign. There is an internal cooldown on it, so you're going to see these runners pacing their shots in a way that they can bypass that cooldown. It's significant right here in the Frankie fight and for the Grotto mini boss. Ginzo mini boss, which we'll be seeing later. So now they have it, and they're going to be moving off to the right, doing some wee little hops to save a couple frames here and there.
Yeah, it's pretty important, especially at this level of gameplay, that the runners are going to make use of every single tiny little frame advantage that they can end up busting out. And so these tiny little hops do actually end up saving a little bit of time when they're walking on sloped surfaces. So here, nice, both of them nailing actually a really tight jump to get over a spore. So both of them coming out. Looks like Raz had just a little bit of a cleaner start so far, so he is going to be a tiny bit in the lead. But Ronnie with a nice stack on some animations there is going to be keeping pace. So we just kind of expect them to be insanely close, but up here there's going to be a little bit of difference in routing, isn't there?
You're going to see IMRaziel go for the extra health, as you mentioned earlier, the all skills health cells, as we like to call it. That's going to give him 4. Ronnie is going to be keeping it 3 for the majority of this run, and then there are areas throughout this run where you do take 3 damage off of some spikes, which means that, as you say, Ronnie's going to have to play some of those safety saves simply because he is going to be in one-hit territory for a lot of those areas, whereas IMRaziel can afford to just push through. So this is going to cost IMRaziel in the order of 8 seconds right now, but throughout the course of the run, when Ronnie picks up his health cell later on in Blackroot Burrows, the Horo Fields health cell, it's going to equate to about 4 seconds. So it looks like the separation is greater than it actually is right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with Ronnie so far. He got a really nice cycle on the slimes as he was descending here in this section. But then not only that, he actually took a death in the first game yesterday. But the last 2 games, he's been completely solid and has had really nice and clean movement. So eyes on the left, nice. And he gets a flower pad skip, being very comfortable with his EXP. Going to pick up 2 intentionally from the slime before progressing to the tree. Maybe just slightly out of that EXP range. Meanwhile, Raz on the right opts to take the level up on the way down. This loses you just over a second. So Raz kind of having a little bit of superficial time loss, but then also just a couple of seconds over routing decision, and then also just overall mechanistic gameplay of Ronnie while they approach wall jump 3.
Yeah, that's right. So they're going to both go and pick up this energy cell here to the top left of the tree for the sequence break that we're going to be seeing. Frankie Walk, as you mentioned, they're managing their experience here in very specific numbers, and with the UI off, it's kind of just a memory thing that they're going off of, an experience thing, the hundreds, if not thousands of runs that they've put in. They kind of just know intuitively where they're at, and they can sort of check it by bringing the UI back up. And when they perform the save anywhere, as they head into Blackroot, they'll be able to see the exact experience total there as well. So some nice movement from IMRaziel coming out of wall jump. It takes a little bit of an extra hop there on the wall. Ronnie, meanwhile, very optimal hopping strats as well, holding right as we head off to pick up our Zoom skill of the game, Dash.
Yeah, Dash is really going to be a huge impact. And so if you've never seen a definitive edition speedrun, you're in for a treat, because we're going to be using this skill that was introduced in that expansion to great extent. That being said, Ronnie about to do a save anywhere glitch. Basically, we're just going to be able to move around with the ability menu open, which you're not normally supposed to be able to do. This allows us to save the game after we cross like a cutscene trigger. And so when you save the game after crossing a cutscene trigger, in Ori, it allows us to either enter this cutscene or skip that cutscene altogether. And so here we're going to be able to skip a cutscene altogether as Ronnie enters Blackroot Burrows, and we're going to be making use of the Save Anywhere glitch multiple times throughout the run, but then also, after we get the capability of resaving at save points, we'll be using that as a functionality as well.
Thanks to Poogle and Skull Block helping us out in the truck, by the way. Raz was 3 seconds ahead of PB at wall jump, and wow. Skull indicates that he may have actually golded that. Ronnie 30 XP to level as he was at the Blackroot teleporter. Raz 43 to level up. He is taking the magnet route, so his Frankie walk will be a little bit less precarious. You're going to see Ronnie kind of almost hanging off that left wall at the Frankie walk, maybe even taking a couple jumps depending on where the Frankie is positioned, so that he can gather up that XP and recharge his energy.
All right, eyes on the left as Ronnie. We're going to see what he ends up doing with these lasers. Uh-oh, it doesn't look like... Yeah, he's not quite on the cycle he's looking for, so he's going to drop a safety save there. And whoa! Pushing the envelope. Wait, is he going to make it? Oh, Ronnie makes the cycle! Okay, so this is really good for Ronnie. So that is like... Yeah, he has drawn a nice little U, maybe has a smiley face there. That was like very, very nice platforming from Ronnie to be able to make it through that section. I cannot stress how great that was. Yeah, look at the instant replay in the bottom left. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was... A little bit heart-stopping, but he pulled it off. Raziel dropping a save just as he finishes off his climb throughout the lasers there. Ronnie does, as you mentioned, get this cycle. If he missed it, would have been 8 seconds. He's a professional. He's got it just fine. Looks like Raziel's on pace to hit his cycle as well.
Yeah, nicely done. So no big mistakes so far in this early game. This is actually kind of like getting to this tree is kind of a huge reset point for especially a lot of top runners. So Raz with just like the blitz start being ahead of his PB, getting to wall jump tree. And then also just Ronnie having pretty clean play and being able to make that insane cycle. Both runners are on a really good pace so far. So we're going to see how this plays out with their confidence and their nerves as they progress into the mid-game portion.
Yeah, so on the left side here, you'll notice that the light has not lifted yet in Black Root Burrows. That's because he's stacking these cutscenes, doing a little bit of memeing, dropping the orb underneath the crushers as well. But this is an extremely critical portion of the early game for Ronnie, who's going to be moving off to the left, not being able to see where he's jumping over the pit. And the save will actually activate somewhere in that time frame. So if he falls, the game will actually save in the pit, and he'll have to reload a save. But he's through. He's fine. He gets it, dashing over the slow zone, and he's on his way to the Ferranti Rock. Right side, Raziel is not stacking the cutscenes, so he's just going to be stood here for a little second. He won't have the blind movement, but it does give Ronnie a couple seconds ahead.
Yeah, going for these spooky strats, Ronnie is just pulling himself further and further ahead of his opponent, just bit by bit. And so if he's able to keep this momentum and have a really clean movement in mid-game portion, that is also probably going to further extend his lead very, very slightly. But Ronnie, on the left, has not picked up Magnet as an ability. This means that he's going to have to get extremely close to this Frankie while it dies in order to pick up the EXP, especially for this strat here. And oh no, he fails it! This is big. This is really big. So Ronnie is actually going to go back all the way to that save point. So Raz pulls into the lead here. This is exactly what he needs to build momentum for the mid game.
Yeah, this is probably on the order of about a 30-second advantage for Raziel right now. He has Magnet, so he's not going to have the same difficulty. Gets the sequence break, opens up the energy door, and he is through. So he's going to jump up here and head over towards Grotto. Ronnie, meanwhile, setting up his Frankie walk again. As mentioned, he was kind of hopping on that wall a little bit. Raziel taking a hit on the right-hand side of the screen, meanwhile.
Yeah, that was a great dash from Raz. That was like very impressive and very difficult. Raz is going to go for a cycle, but eyes to the left as Ronnie now is going to attempt his magnetless Frankie walk. Yeah, going for the safer setup of having the Frankie do an extra hop, and he gets through. So Raz on the right, meanwhile, going for a crusher cycle skip. He gets it. That was so big for his momentum. Getting that is going to mean that Ronnie has to meet him pace for pace. And if Ronnie does not get that cycle, that is going to be an additional 8 seconds Raz is going to have over his opponent.
Yeah, that's massive there. Ronnie kind of having a little bit of flub there coming out of the Death Gauntlet, but he's okay. He's dropping down in, and as you mentioned, we have to pay attention to him now on the left-hand side. See whether or not he maintains that 8 seconds or loses it as Raziel hits the double jump tree, and Ronnie is through. That was really close.
Yeah, that was really scary.
Yeah. Raziel, by the way, was -3 at the dash tree, and now he's got his blind movement coming out of the double jump.
All right, yeah, so Ronnie going to be making his fast-paced way to double jump tree. Meanwhile, Raz, pretty nice blind movement. Just a little misstep there on the wall, but just playing it safe overall, making sure he doesn't get hit by those 2 damage spikes. Nicely done. And so now Raz is going to be going for Grotto Skip, which is a really precise sequence of inputs to be able to get past and skip the entirety of the left side of Grotto. So eyes on the right here. And does he get it first try? Oh, nice. I like this. The safe setup. And he gets up there. Okay, that's good. Ronnie most likely is going to be pacing that. But wow, Ronnie is just tearing up this double jump movement, throwing in all these ninja jumps to save the frames.
Yeah, that's right. So Raziel skips the cutscene coming up here where we don't see the rocks. We saw a bit of that yesterday, the extra rocks falling down here. So left side, we're going to see Ronnie, whether or not he gets his Grotto skip, does so very nicely. We have, by the way, a 29-second difference between the runners as of the double jump tree. So Raziel, I wouldn't say comfortable, given that he's facing Ronnie, but he does have a little bit of room here and a little bit of breathing space.
This is just like something that we saw out of Ronnie. Wow. Yesterday especially, is Ronnie is just so good at bouncing back from those big mistakes, right? It's so easy to get frazzled, especially in a tournament performance, right? This is a best of 3 series. This is game number 3. You have to be able to close out a performance on this run if you want to make it to the next round. And Ronnie just nailing all of these really insane and difficult and tight jump chains that people normally don't go for, that save just minor tiny bits of time. But Raz takes a hit in the 3 damage spikes on the right, able to get through there. Leveling up is going to fully refill his health, so he's back to full. And now he is going to be going for this ability cell that Ronnie is not. So even though there was a 30-second delta at double jump tree, this means that Raz is going to be taking a time loss versus his opponent for going for this route.
Yeah, and the time loss is in collecting that ability cell. It doesn't really affect them in Sorrow, where they're going to be having the difference in the techniques that they use. Raziel is going to be going for the Terror Break, and Ronnie is going to be going for Crazy Juggle. So the time difference that you see that Ronnie catches up is right there in collecting that ability cell.
Wow, and Ronnie going for a fast cycle as well on those Crusher Spinners and nailed it so hard. We're going to get an update on that delta once we enter this Ginso tree, but it doesn't look like it's 30 seconds anymore, Shafe.
No, and this is exactly what we saw in Game 1, actually, where there was about a 24-second difference between the runners early on, with Ronnie having just a little bit of trouble, maybe a little bit of nerfs, and then he caught it up, and we were pretty much frame tied at dash as well, so it looks almost like we're replaying Game 1, but I promise you we are not replaying Game 1 here.
Yeah, and Ronnie closing 18 seconds on that. He's only behind by 11 seconds now on entering Ginso. Some of that is because of the route of skipping that ability cell. So we're going to see how he does in Crazy Juggle in order to equalize in that section later on and see if he can hold on to that time save. But right now, we're in Ginso tree, Shafe.
Yeah, and it's pretty important to note, actually, that as opposed to yesterday, neither of the runners are watching their opponent today. I forget who was watching who yesterday, but they're playing blind right now. So Raz doesn't know he's ahead. Ronnie probably figures he's a little bit behind. But you were alluding to the mental aspect of this race, and Ronnie sort of just kind of settling his nerves down. I think maybe if he knew how far Raz was ahead, he might have been a little bit more nervous. He might have been a little bit more motivated. We don't know. We don't know what his mental state is. But like you say, he's coming back. He's playing strong. Raziel in the middle of his mini-boss fight here now.
Yeah, it looks like Raz is going to close out a 5 cycle here. Meanwhile, Ronnie with Quick Flame is going to be able to finish... Oh, was that the 3 cycle?
I believe that was 3 cycle. Yeah, so we are almost tied here now. It's a matter of this door opening. That's the separation between the runners at the moment.
Yeah, that was so big from Ronnie. So the 3 cycle using Quick Flame is insanely good. That's very difficult. And Ronnie was able to close that out. Meanwhile, Raz with a 5 cycle on the mini-boss means that he had to watch like the boss pop up 2 additional times in order to be able to close it out. And wow, look at this. Both runners are going to be on Bash Tree. This is looking exactly like Game 1. But can Ronnie maintain this pace? Can he keep edging forward and be able to overtake Raz?
It's definitely what we expect from Ronnie, but it's something that we're going to have to see. In Game 1, this was the same situation that we were in, and we had a soft lock in the final escape. So, well, anything can happen, and we'll just have to wait and see. Raziel taking a little bit of extra time on that double bash to break this door. That's going to catch Ronnie out just by a few fractions of a second.
Yeah, Ronnie missing his cycle as well for shots. He had to take an additional cycle. So both runners are entering the Kidoob at roughly the same time. Raz still in a slight lead on the right side, but we're going to see how Kidoob does. This is actually a really tight timing window or spacing for them to get in. Raz gets it. Ronnie gets it. They both successfully get Kidoob. Who is going to be able to get out of this section first?
It's going to be really close. Second Keystone, yeah, that's less than a second difference right now between the runners. Raziel popping up that last Bash Lantern, puts his 4 keys in, goes for the Ghost Door, and he is into the second mini-boss fight. Jumping off the wall at practically the same time.
Wow, Shafe. This is just the absolute race that we were hoping for. The runners are slightly over halfway done with the run so far, but the tech and the mechanics are really going to pick up as we hit the latter game portions. Now, Shafe, a question for you. Are there any sort of tricks that you think our runners might be a little bit stressed looking forward into the run? Or do you think that they're just like in the moment and trying to mechanistically nail all of their movement?
It's definitely a little bit of both. The question, I think, is whether or not they're going to be thinking ahead to some of those tricks. We did see some struggles with Sarobash throughout this tournament, never mind in the races yesterday. I think Sarobash, it's one of the gatekeepers for newer runners, and it can even, it'd be a difficult trick for experienced runners. Sometimes it just gets away from you. So I think Sarobash is going to be a first key one. And then for Ronnie, Crazy Juggle is probably going to be the one that's stressing him out a little bit more. Raziel, meanwhile, is not going to be concerned about Terror Break. They are frame tied, bashing this frog into Swamp Entry.
All right, Ronnie's shot hits the floor, so he has to grab a second shot. Raz is also hit a wall, so Raz is going to bait another shot. Ronnie is going to be getting through Swamp Entry first, while Raz is hot on his tail. Both of them nailing that pretty quickly. Ronnie, though, did not have the safety save place that he usually wanted to go for. But he was able to get through that trick with nice proficiency, and so he is going to be having a sigh of relief as he gets through that section. But, Ronnie missing some of his double bashes. He is on 1 health, so he has to nail the rest of these. Yeah, he's just going to take the second shot and equalize that with some safety. Meanwhile, Raz just using the left wall from the start is going to be able to catch up a little bit of time.
Yeah, Raz had a little bit of time loss coming in on a Swamp Entry. But that little mishap on the double bash, just dropping the input there from Ronnie, that did allow Raz to catch a little bit of that up. Ronnie still ahead by a margin as he bashes off the lantern, stomps down, saving a little bit of time, and is jumping off his platforms. We're going to be doubling back and taking our frog Ringo here to pick up another ability cell. You can feel free to take a listen as Ringo's going to play some drums for us on this Stone Boulder.
Yeah, this is so great. All right, here it is.
I love that. It's so good.
Good. I always forget that sound is there until someone points it out. Raz on the right has to deal with lasers, but he has a nice cycle coming back, so no problem. But keep your eyes peeled. Both of the runners need to get this skip if they want to stay in contention. Raz misses it!
No, that's an 18-second time loss for Raziel. That is massive.
Yeah, he's going to backload and try it again. If he gets this the second time, he's going to make up some of his 18 seconds. He does get it second time, but this is exactly the breathing room that Ronnie's going to look for as he goes through. Ronnie, wow, look at this in-race decision-making. Ronnie not going for a really difficult and tricky trick, excuse me. Instead, he's just going to watch this cutscene and go through as normal. This is like definitely Ronnie is making some adaptations from his routing yesterday to say, I just want to have a no silliness and just get through this run as quickly and consistently as possible.
I actually think that was a missed double bash. It looked like he was setting up for it and it just dropped on him. So he didn't hesitate. He just went for the wall climb instead. I like that lack of hesitation from Ronnie to make that decision in a split second when you're going for that trick in the first place. And then you're just like, no, it didn't work. Bail on it. Boom. Take the cutscene. Not a big deal. Extremely decisive from Ronnie. I think that shows where his headspace is at. He's locked in right now. Raz is too, meanwhile.
Yeah, Raz doing a great job. It's within 10 seconds, folks. It's not much of a delta at this point. So this is exactly what Raz was looking for. This is what we were talking about, Chafe. Raz needs to stay close and wait for Ronnie to make that mistake so that he can capitalize on it. Meanwhile, Ronnie knocking some insane movement out of the park. Nice manipulation of the frogs to be able to get up to these lanterns a little bit quicker. But up here is Fast Stompless.
Yeah, Raz just goes to bash off the frog and take the wall instead, so he does lose just a little bit of time there. This is a trick that can also get away from you right before Sourbash, Fast Stompless. We're going to see Ronnie go for it first on the left-hand side. What setup does he use? He uses the traditional setup. Looks like he likes that shot, stomping down, bashing off the lantern to climb back up and grab this ability cell. We'll stomp cancel on the hover there to see if he gets it. Raz doesn't like his first shot while Ronnie hits it. Raz takes a little bit of time, fires his shot off. So a second shot attempt from Raziel. Still, that one looks good. And he's up to his ability cell, and he gets it.
Yeah, Raz must be breathing a sigh of relief. He actually took a huge death in game number 2, losing him over a minute. Like right before this trick actually ended up happening. So being able to get through that is really nice. Both runners are all set to go for their attempts at Sourbash, and this was actually a huge point of contention. Both runners failed at first try in game number 1, and that actually ended up being really, really big for the state of the race. So we're going to see exactly how Ronnie does with this trick over on the left-hand side.
10-second difference between the runners, by the way. And it's Fast Stompless. Ronnie seemed like he was willing to take just a little bit of time, make sure the bird didn't die on the spikes there. He is through, collecting his first ability cell there. Taking a look on the right-hand side. Raziel jumping off the wall to get the initial setup, bashes it up. Floats a little bit. Doesn't like that, so he actually kills the bird, and he's going to go and attempt it again.
Oh, that's so unfortunate for Raz. Meanwhile, Ronnie on the left is going for Crazy Juggle. This is a sequence of 2 to 3 frame presses that you have to nail. Otherwise, the frog is going to die and he fails it. This is so important, and he gets up there. Nice Crazy Juggle from Ronnie. Ronnie is on an insane pace right now. If he can keep this momentum going to Missy, he is going to be the one that is going to be heading on to the next round of the tournament.
Yeah, and they're going to be facing the winner of Hitachi or Vuligen. Raziel did get his Sorrow Bash on the second try, setting up the frog for the rocket jump, and he's going to be doing the Terror Break instead of Crazy Juggle. So the difference here is essentially where they go and get charge jump first.
All right, yeah, so we'll get a race update as the runners progress towards the next tree, but Raz missing that Sorrow Batch is actually really, really big for the state of the race. Like, we're going to see, like, Raz, you can kind of see he's actually on the tree animation right now, and Ronnie is about to activate that tree. Meanwhile, Raz still has to go up and get Sunstone before he's able to leave Sorrow. So, Ronnie is definitely clearly in the lead at this point.
Yeah, for sure. At this juncture, it is going to take another mistake or some sort of mishap from Ronnie. Just again, no disrespect to Raziel, it's just the caliber of runner that Ronnie is. Oh, he does take a small death there as he gets sniped by the frog actually on the way out. It will allow Raz to catch up a little bit of time, but Raz is going to have to play out of his mind, and Ronnie's going to have to lose focus for a second here.
Yeah, nice stomp cancels from Ronnie, just going through some instant death spikes. That was actually a very narrow trick to be able to nail. We're going to see if he feathers down here. He does not. He just goes for the immediate dash and stomp cancels to get out of there. Meanwhile, Ronnie, nice, dropping a save right at Misty entrance. So if he takes a death in Misty, he is not going to have to escape Sorrow again. Meanwhile, Raz just getting Sunstone now as Ronnie is tearing his way through Misty.
Yeah, that's probably, I would say, the only save that we're going to see from Ronnie until he gets to climb. So, I mean, he's still got to move very precisely here, can't afford to take any extra damage. Whereas Raziel is going to have that safety in Misty. I would not expect to see him drop a safety save at the beginning of Misty Woods, but we'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah, so is Ronnie going to go? Yeah, okay, so Ronnie placed another safety save there. He actually ended up doing that in both of his games yesterday, so nice sort of consistent tournament strats. That's actually kind of an out-of-place save, but he doesn't really lose so much time from having to collect the energy crystal. Just like a fraction of a second or so. And Ronnie is going to be the first to make it to Climb Tree, so he is going to be halfway through Misty. Meanwhile, Raz entering Misty at this point, just making it to the first keystone.
Yeah, I'd say it's approximately 50, maybe 60 seconds difference. We'll get an update for you on the exact time once Raziel hits climb. Ronnie, meanwhile, just charge dashing and bashing, stomp canceling his way through Misty. This is such a fun area to run because the movement is precise, it's clean, and you have all like the major movement skills at this point, and it's just such a beauty to watch. It's artistic when you see a runner of this caliber performing like this, honestly.
Yeah, you know, Shafe, like, especially Ronnie. Ronnie mentioned that he was going to make some extra safety saves. So he's like, well, I guess instead of slowing down, I'm going to have to throw in some stair cancel, which is like an advanced movement technique with stomp cancellation to allow you to do it beyond what you normally can in the scope of your imagination. And so Ronnie just being like, I'm going to throw on this insanely difficult tech in order to mitigate much of that time loss. Wow, what? Was there a mini-boss there? What? It just, wow.
No, in the most recent patch, right before they started working on Will of the Wisps, actually, they just said, you know what, this mini-boss this time.
Patched. Oh, memes. Alright, Raz, meanwhile, is going to be working his own way. He does have 4 HP, so he can tank a face hit onto the spikes, so damage is an instant death for him. But Ronnie is very, very close to collecting his final skill tree location of the event. And ooh, Ronnie down on 1 health, not going to go for the rocket jump through the meatball shaft. I like this decision from Raz. If he had touched any of those hanging spikes, he would have died instantaneously and got sent back pretty far. But carrying 3 energy into this boss fight is going to be really nice for him.
Ooh, and he actually does not get the bang zoom immediately. He's got to go for another cycle on that, so he does lose a couple seconds. In that, it was a 39-second difference at the climb tree. So Raziel's still very much in this. By no stretch of the imagination is he out. The final escape can be pretty disastrous. They don't have a whole lot of HP for the swim. If they don't get the frogs in the right position, that resets you. So Raz within striking distance here.
Yeah, so Ronnie is now at light grenade tree, showing off some grenade jumps. Nicely done. That's a very, very tight timing window of 1 frame between 2 inputs to hit that. And ooh, he's going for the laser cycle again. And he gets through. So this is just what I'm talking about, man. Ronnie's late game is just so insane to watch. That was just such good movement from Ronnie to be able to make that. And he is catapulting himself towards the final escape. If he is just able to close out this final bit of movement, have a clean final escape, and have a clean grenade jump at the end, then he is going to be able to close out this race.
Raziel on his way to pick up the last skill of the game. This is light grenade, as you mentioned. It's that thing that we use for the grenade jumps where you conveniently get the game to forget what your speed cap is. So, very fun trick. I know it's one of your favorites, Muffin. Ronnie,
yeah.
in a horror fields, bashing off the frog. He's going to stomp down this wall and perform some charge bash stomp cancels to get over across this deadly lava pit of doom and set up for his last grenade jump straight to the door. Does not get it immediately. He's just going to bail on it and go the normal way.
Yeah, this is actually kind of big for Ronnie as well because he only has 2 energy. What this means, because the way he failed those grenade jumps, he actually ended up having a grenade thrown as a result, which costs half an energy each grenade. So we're going to see if Ronnie still opts to actually do something known as warmth skip, which does not regenerate his energy, or if he is just going to do the normal final escape in order to progress towards the end of the run.
Press up 1 frame when the game reloads and you get door warp, which means you don't see Mount Horu. So Ronnie gets it first try, and he is setting up for warp skip. I believe he has 2 energy for the final escape right now, as Raziel is on his way through horror fields, charge dashing his way, trying to maintain that separation in case we do have another instance of game 1 where something goes awry for Ronnie, and he's able to climb back and steal a victory. And Ronnie is having a little bit of difficulty. There he goes now into the final escape.
Yeah, this is a lot tighter now for Ronnie than he wants. Raz, meanwhile, on the right, has to get door warp first try if he wants to have a chance. Ronnie, if he doesn't take a death in here and he gets the grenade jump, he is going to pull away from the win. But this is exactly what happened in game 1 yesterday. Is Ronnie having the nerves of steel to get it? Well, he's going to be coming around this corner now, going for his 5 HP swim. He cannot take any unnecessary slow tardy damage. Okay, he gets through Shape. Is he going to get the grenade jump?
Raz is having a little bit of trouble with door warp. He needs a soft lock here in order to be able to get back in this. And okay. Ronnie takes his time, and it's good. Ronnie advances into the next round, into the semifinals of Oriol Skills 2019. GG to Ronnie.
Oh, thank goodness, man. Oh, man, that was just Ronnie bouncing back after that first game. That first game, he just had all these unfortunate, things happen to him, and then that soft lock at the very end for Raz to close out that game within 10 seconds with the win. And then coming back in game number 2, Ronnie closing out a solid win with just an insane time. And then Ronnie coming back in game number 3, showing off that he has nerves of steel. Had trouble with warmth skip? No problem, man. Just get me to that spot and I'll show you how to grenade jump. Way to go, Ronnie. I'm so proud of him and I'm so excited to see what he does in the upcoming semifinals.
Raziel, meanwhile, is heading into his fishes. Takes a little bit of a float there and make sure that they're in the right position for the bashing, and it looks like his setup is good. Charge jumping over the Kuro cutscene trigger, floating up to the left to get up on this wall, bashing off of the rock, setting up for his grenade jump now, taking the higher position, and that looks good. GG to Raziel. His tournament life is unfortunately done, but an excellent performance by Raz. Looks like he's going to be just shy of a 30-40.
All right, and I reached out to both of the runners to ask them if they'd be interested for an interview, so we're going to see if we are going to get a chance to talk to our racers after they finish. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side of the screen, Raz is going to be crossing the finish momentarily with a pretty nice time. A low 30 is definitely an excellent time overall for him.
Yeah, that will actually still beat out his qualifier average, which was a 30.48. So overall, he's never mind. He's memeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
30-38. Oh, Raz, what a meme lord. Finishing out with an official time of 30:38.53. GG, Raz.
All right, so as you can see there, Ronnie advancing on to the semifinals, going to be facing the winner of Hitachi versus Vuligen, which we have games 1 through 3 all scheduled for tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific.
All right, I am very much looking forward to that. That being said, taking a quick look at the bracket, now that Ronnie is going to be progressing out of the quarterfinals and being able to take a win here moving on to the semis, he is going to be facing off against the winner of that series that you just mentioned, which is Hitachi versus Vuligen. Very exciting to see who ends up progressing there. Ronnie, of course, making to the grand finals in the last All-Skills tournament is definitely probably one of the scariest opponents in this entire bracket. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Wilson versus Tara, which should be a great show, as well as Elo versus Working. And we are going to see, looks like Ronnie is not going to be able to join us for an interview, but we have the privilege of being joined here by none other than the Portuguese pain train himself, IMRaziel. What's up, dude?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, GG, man. How'd you feel about how that race went?
Thanks, and GG to Ronnie. I think it went okay, although I just got 229s before before this race, so I was hoping to get a third one in a row. But I really doubted, in any case, that I would be able to beat Ronnie. So I'm pretty happy about the three races in general.
Well, that's good to hear. You had a little bit of trouble with door work there at the end, so I think that was Seven's try. What was going on there? Just kind of a little bit nerves, or what?
Yeah, I think I either get door warp first try or I get it like 5th try or something like that. And yeah, I failed it the first try, so that kind of sucked. But I think I lost maybe 30 seconds maximum to that, so I wouldn't be able to win either way.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, Raz. And I mean, it's always such a treat to be able to watch you in these tournaments. You've been a long-standing member of the community, like the randomizer tournaments as well as the all-skills tournaments. I just think your runs have just been so insane. So like, especially speaking to you in the past about like nerves, because I know you get them. Like, how'd you feel like today, especially going into a game number 3, having the prospect of going up against like somebody like Ronnie?
Yeah, I always get a bit of nerves, but not watching the stream is actually good. And when you're facing someone like Ronnie, you just gotta think that you're behind and that you have to do everything perfectly anyway. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy participating in the tournaments. The tournament itself is really fun. I would enjoy the tournament even if I didn't make it through the qualifiers. But yeah, I get a bit of nerves, but it's awesome to participate and to be part of this community.
Speaking of tournaments in this community, are you going to be preparing for the All Cells No Restrictions, or do you have other plans for speed gaming?
All cells, of course, dude. That's the best category there.
Nice. I look forward to seeing your performance. GG once again, Raz. Sorry you got knocked out of the tournament, but I look forward to seeing you in the No Restrictions category later on.
Thanks.
Yeah, congrats, Raz. All right, that being said, I do have some written responses from Ronnie, so even though he wasn't able to join us in voice, I had the chance to ask him a few questions. And so the first question I sort of asked was, how'd you feel about the races today? When Ronnie, coming out of the 1-1 win and a loss from yesterday, he stated that he actually wasn't feeling as confident as usual today. I think that definitely showed in like some of the strats he was going for and some of the extra safety saves. But besides the Frankie walk fail, he felt pretty good about his run overall. And then in terms of his next opponent of facing Hitachi or Vula, he wrote, scared of both, but no offense to Vulagen. He is slightly more scared of Hitachis, so shots fired there. And then in general for the upcoming match, he is going to be stopping the Spider Sack double bash. So that was intentional from him today, to do a single bash up there in order to just watch the cutscene. So in his mid game, just like taking a little bit of slower strats to just sort of guarantee he's able to get through those sections consistently fast. But beyond that, he's still going to bring the flair and bring some really exciting stuff for the next one. So grats again, Ronnie. GG, man. I'm really excited to see what you bring to the table in the semifinals.
All right, so continuing on for the Ori All Skills tournament tomorrow, Vulagen versus Hitachi Hex. One of those runners will be facing off against UncleRonny. That's happening at 10 o'clock Eastern. Saturday, we have Lurking Assassin versus El Jiminy at 1 o'clock Eastern, and Terra versus Wilson Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Elsewhere on the Speed Gaming Network right now, you can catch the end of Kirby's Dream Land on Speed Gaming 2, and the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer will be getting kicked off at 5 o'clock. My name is Shafe, joined alongside Covert Muffin. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and major thanks also to Skullblock and Poodle for helping out behind the scenes on stats, and then major thanks to Terra, as always, for restreaming. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, folks, and we'll see you for the next exciting installment of Ori All Skills Tournament. Have a great night.